Hi, welcome to Cares Everywhere. It's me, Anthony Brown, aka the Ghetto Practitioner. And man, do we have a treat today. I'm super excited going around just meeting different people in different locations. And today's guest comes from the town in which I live in. I just, I, I don't know enough words I can give for this individual and the work he's doing. And we're going to tap into and talk to my next guest and see what's going on and get him to share about his travels, his journey, and what he's doing out here in the community. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Joe Bocka.
Good to see you again, Anthony.
Good to see you as well. I tend to just dive into stuff, and try not to catch people off with questions. I'm just curious. Um, what
Okay.
what made you want to be a doctor?
Well, I actually did not start out looking for medicine because I'm very mathematical and left-brained, and started as actuarial medicine, but was also working with EMS as a volunteer EMT in New Jersey, of all places, and had some friends that were in physical therapy, and I just wanted to be with people and transitioned to physical therapy. And when I was doing that, they said, well, if you're taking all the same courses, you might as well go pre-med, and ended up graduating pre-med, got into medical school in New Jersey, and then was very interested in emergency medicine and did my residency in Michigan, an emergency medicine residency. And I was doing emergency medicine for over 35 years after that. But there's a lot of overlap between substance use, homeless, and in emergency medicine. And I just felt that there was something more that I could be doing. And in 2009, our emergency group here in Mansfield started a company that was doing correctional medicine. And they asked if I would help take over the Richland County Jail, the medical for that. So I did that, not knowing what I was getting into. And when I went there, there were no substance or withdrawal protocols. It was essentially tough it out, or we'll send you to the hospital if you get really bad. And that's when I really started looking into substance use and learning more about it. And as nights got a little more difficult for emergency medicine, I transitioned to a federal clinic downtown, clinic through 3rd Street at 5 Points, and was one of the founding providers there. And it was right in the heart of drug district. So we had a lot of patients that were having substance use issues. And while I was with 3rd Street, the county had realized there was a overdose crisis that was going on, and they founded a Richland County Opiate Board, and I was part of the members of that, and I can share some data with that later on. And then kept doing more and more substance use, and a couple of years ago, I was silly enough to say, all right, let me take the addiction board medicines and focus in on addiction medicine instead of being all over the place. So that's where I've been. I've been doing consults at Ohio Health and set up that service, and also at Catalyst, we helped develop withdrawal protocols that were in place then when we opened up a withdrawal unit in 2020.
Okay. And that's fascinating, because you answered a whole bunch of my questions. So now as a host, I have to come up with more. What's really interesting, because I self-disclose on my show. I am a recovering addict. I've been around for 26 years, and when I was out there in my disease, I wasn't the world's most pleasant person. From a doctor's perspective, is it difficult, or why is it that addicts behave the way they do?
Well, there's obviously a lot of things going on. You've had Dr. Drew and Dr. Labor explaining a lot of what's going on inside the brain. But there's a lot of hijacking. And a lot of times, too, when people are coming off withdrawing from a substance, it's just like when you don't eat or drink for 2 or 3 days. You started going into desperation mode, and you start doing things that you normally wouldn't do because your body is desperate for the substance that's there. And I think having Dr. Labor, Dr. Drew, many others, just being able to understand a little bit about what's going on helps in my care, and then hopefully that the people can understand it in their recovery, and even family members and concerned friends.
Okay. And it's it's interesting because, I'm a nurse practitioner in another state, and I go by the term the ghetto practitioner, because I'm still practicing. And what's really fascinating, you said some things about starting clinics in an I would consider an underserved population. Um,
Mhm.
what made you pick that location? Is there any specific reason?
Well, the federal clinic was starting. It's the only medical clinic in downtown. But we've been involved with a nonprofit ministry for 9 years and helped provide a meal once a week. And also, I've been involved with the daily meal program here in town. So I knew a lot of these people, they're friends, and a lot of them were afraid to get medical care. And because they knew me and knew the people that I was working with, they were able to get medical care. And I've just seen that as a need. Growing up, our family always seemed to go for the underdogs a lot of times. And a lot of times we were the underdogs. And so that's through a bunch of different circumstances how I ended up in all the different places, especially most recently with all the different areas here in Mansfield.
Okay. And you said you had some statistics you want to share with us about substance use around here. Can you enlighten us a little bit?
Yeah, well, Richland County in 2016 started a opioid board because fentanyl had come at the end of 2015 and overdoses went from literally under 100 to over 500. Um,
Wow.
and so it was 30 different agencies which got together, which is kind of a miracle almost in itself to be able to do that. But we got together and worked on ways to be able to get Narcan out into the community and also set up a response team that would go out on the following week with overdoses. Because a lot of times that first day, people are not in a great mood to be able to consider treatment. And they would go out with a team with someone that was from a treatment provider service, someone that was a social worker type person or a community health worker, and also someone from law enforcement. And it was usually community officers, so it worked out well. And they were able to see people about half the time, and then about more than half the time when they saw them, they got them into treatment. So there are hundreds that got into treatment, and not just the patients themselves that had overdosed, but family members, someone that was in the apartment building. And then in the middle of 2016, carfentanyl hit, and we actually had one day, the first day of carfentanyl, that there were 13 simultaneous overdoses. We
Wow.
completely ran out of Narcan in Mansfield fire, and at the hospital, we ended up with 13 deaths that day. So in 2016, there was a record 61 overdose deaths in Richland County, and in 2017, a record overdoses reported to the police of 638. But we've come a long ways. Last year, we were down to 181 overdoses with 27 deaths. And it's still, though, if you look at those 8 years worth, we've had, sorry about that, let me get this. We've had over 3,700 overdoses that have been reported to the police in Richland County and over 395 deaths. And I mean, these were people, they had names. It wasn't, dirtball or crackhead. I mean, it was Anthony or RJ, Megan, Rusty. I mean, just the names go on with that. But we've also had over 3,300 people that are here because of Narcan. So those are things that I'm proud of from the opiate response team. We also have autopsy toxicology reports from Richland County. The one that we have complete was 23. There were 28 overdose deaths, so we have Toxon. 27 had fentanyl in it, but they look at the lethality, and fentanyl was the most lethal in only 3/4 in 22 of the 28. Cocaine was in more than half, and cocaine plus fentanyl, which is definitely on the rise, was in more than half. And only cocaine was seen in 1, and cocaine was the most lethal in 4 of the deaths. So a lot of people tell me they use cocaine or they deal cocaine because it doesn't kill people, but cocaine is definitely a strong blood vessel constrictor and definitely kills people. There were 3 or more substances in more than half, and gabapentin was the most lethal in 1. So
Wow.
There's a wide variety of things that are killing our residents, and just trying to get that out. And we've also known since July of 21, more people have died from smoking the substance than from IV. So just because you're not using a needle doesn't mean that you're not at risk for dying.
Wow, wow. You know, thank you for the statistics because sometimes, and thank you for identifying people as being people.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
I really am grateful that you said, no, this just isn't a crackhead. This is, Phil or Pete, or it's a person that's out there that's addicted to these drugs. And one of the things I want to take a little dive into this because you mentioned you help formulate a team that goes out into the community. If other places or other clinicians were were trying to find a method in which to reproduce what you're doing as far as a team. You mentioned certain elements that are on your team. Could you share that again?
Yeah, that I was not personally responsible for creating the team, but it was the group, the opiate board response team, and probably best if they go through. It's because it's under the guidance of the mental health board from Richland County.
Okay.
If people had inquiries from other counties, because we have talked with other counties as to how we had set things up, and different counties do things different ways. But if they go through the Richland County Mental Health Board to be able to get connected. Uh,
Okay. So going, if they want to know how to set up their own team, they can go to the mental health board. They can give them directions and things like that.
they can get information, um, just essentially what we were doing. And I think every county is going to be a little bit different as to how they're handling things. But if you can just get a general idea of what worked for our county, that kind of model has worked for other places too.
Okay, okay, because we need more. Because man, drugs are just, especially I thought fentanyl was bad, but you named off a lot of other things that it was in your
Yeah.
statistics, and it's
Cocaine has made a big comeback again in our county. It's now the number one drug that people are getting in trouble for, and what's involved in killing people.
okay. And as a doctor, you're. It sounds like you're out there in the community, right where it's happening. I mean, you get to see it up close and personal. Do you ever get disheartened from some of the things you see?
Um, it can be frustrating at times. There are people that come even into the withdrawal unit that are there because someone else is making them to come there. And when they're not motivated, it's very tough and it's sad to be looking at that, especially when they have so many other people that are concerned about things. I've also, since early on, every day before I started my day, my medical patient's day, I would try to pray and say, who is the person I need to pour my heart out to that day?
Mm.
Because if I poured my heart out to everyone, I'd be a blubbering, useless mess. And it is usually very clear whether it's the patient, a patient's family member, someone that I see out on the street. It's usually very clear that that's where I need to put my heart that day. So that's how I kind of keep sane. And then I think just as I've learned more and more about what's going on in the brain and with addictions, it's really helped to understand that this is a disease that it's more than just willpower. There are things going on inside that if you understand, you can be able to be in a position to be able to try to help.
Okay, okay, and that's cool. I always, like I said, I love hearing the professional viewpoint on how to deal with it because a lot of times, a lot of people that listen to my show is just people, family members that want to help, and then they see a person that's addicted, and they try in the beginning, then they try in the middle, and eventually just throw their hands up in the air, you know,
Yep.
and then the professionals get involved in things of that nature. And so, other than the board or other than what you're doing, is there any other projects that you're involved in out here in Richland County?
Well, I had helped to start addiction consults at the hospital at Mansfield. There was no such thing. And especially in the emergency department, people were very frequently asking me questions or saying, what could we do with this person as they had become more knowledgeable in substance use and was working both primary care and emergency medicine at the same time. Um, and so that evolved into a service that now is at the hospital. And I think we've made a big impact, not just in caring for people, but also in education with nursing staffs of different floors and different things that have come up, and with the different providers. So especially in the labor and delivery unit, I've seen now mothers that have come in that had delivered before, but now with the education and with the help that they're getting, they said it was a completely different experience. And that makes me feel good to see that happening. And then also the withdrawal unit at Catalyst, which is our local mental health main provider through the county. There was a vision from the mental health board, actually through the opiate board, for setting up a withdrawal unit somewhere, either in Richland County, Ashland County, Crawford, somewhere. Several places fell through, and then we were able to get land and funding to build it next to the Catalyst buildings. So we had about 6 months that we were working out different protocols with patients that were in the crisis unit before the building was able to open in January of 2020. And since then, since that opening, we've cared for over 1,885 patients.
Wow.
And have seen a lot of them now are in recovery and back, giving back. They've went and got their CDCA or different other educations that they're now able to be helping patients too. So that's been just good seeing that happen.
Oh, okay. I think that's, and again, like I say, I self-disclose, I'm in recovery, and I think it's really important that for the individual in their recovery that they are able to give back, or it's easy for one person coming into recovery to relate to a person that's already been where they're going through. And, I'm glad that you're part of something like that. And so,
And
um,
and they, like you, are going to be able to help people in ways that I can't.
mhm. Yeah,
I
well,
am not in recovery from substances other than hamburgers and pizza and food.
yeah.
Um, that's great that people can help others in ways that I can't.
Okay, and that's a perfect segue into my next topic. You mentioned hamburgers and food and pizza and things like. I've heard and I've seen you actually out there in the street helping people eat. What got you involved into that? Is that some sort of ministry, or what? Why do you do that?
Yeah, it was. Well, there has been, initially it was on the square at Mansfield, and now moved to its own pavilion in Mansfield, a daily meal that was provided, initially started for veterans and then just expanded and blew out from there. So we had been very involved with that. And then we were at a church downtown that isn't there anymore, but people had found out that on Saturday nights they had a worship session, but before it they had food. And so they were coming for the food. And then the church imploded, and we ended up with the opportunity to be able to still continue that. Not just food, but other things. It's been amazing. We've had people, we haven't paid for meat for almost 3 years now because of people giving us donations. And we try to be very generous with our portions. Try to usually have 30 pounds of meat for 100 people to just make it. And it's just amazing. Like we had someone that donated suspenders, which can't remember the last time I had even seen suspenders. And we had two different people that were like, oh, wow, I was really looking for suspenders, and here they are. And we've seen things like that almost every week. So is a ministry that I'm part of called Community Life Ministries. So, but it's really just helping feed friends, people that we've known over the years and our friends.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
so it's when I hear the story about the minister, that means the suspenders, that touches me. It's the little things that matter a lot,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And you're out there, and what do you think with dealing with individuals out there getting services provided on the street? what do you think? Can you recall other than the suspenders, a moment in which it really touched you and made you realize, yes, this is what I want to do?
Oh, wow. Um, there have been a lot of people. One, not two. One, we had someone that was off of their behavioral health medications and in a sort of schizophrenic episode, talking out and getting very boisterous and angry. And so we ended up just saying, let's get you a meal, let's get you off to the side. And there was also one from our team that went and just prayed with this person. And then the next week, the patient ended up, just after we had seen him being hospitalized, was up on your floor, got their medications back in line, and was incredibly apologetic and just said, thank you for just seeing that that wasn't the real me.
Mm.
And yeah, was just very grateful.
Yeah, and that is so important. I know working in healthcare, and because a lot of people don't realize, or I don't know, for whatever reason, that an individual that is sick or down and out is just another person that is sick and down and out, you know. And I feel that it's really, really important that we all remember that we're all human beings, you know.
Yep.
We all have feelings and family and desires and wants, and sometimes we're just in that state mentally that we're unable to respond accordingly to what people think is, normal. And so it's good to have people like you just right there in the middle of it all, just right there in the middle. Just if you were to have if somebody wanted to get some help or didn't know how to get help, or what would you suggest to them?
If it's a substance use issue or even behavioral health, probably the best way is Catalyst has urgent care hours that tries to people lined up with services. And I would have to look at the site to see the hours. They're roughly like 8 to 4-ish. And we end up with people coming to the withdrawal unit that went there trying to get help, people that end up getting behavioral health issues addressed. And also 211 has a lot of resources also. The county 211 through the library. There are a lot of resources that are listed. And the mental health board keeps an updated list of vetted substance agencies. That's on the mental health board page. So if you know they're vetted, that's certainly going to be a good thing.
Okay. So there are resources out there, and they just have to, you just gave us a plethora of places to go to get some help, which is totally great. I appreciate it. We'll close this up here shortly. I just want to know what is it then what do you think I could do as a person to be able to help out the next, if I didn't have no skills at all, no nursing skills, I just want to help. What should I do? What do you think is appropriate?
Over the years, I've compiled a page that we give out in the withdrawal unit, and I had given out in the office I asked people that were in recovery what you asked other people to do to be sober. And so I've kept a list. One of them the first one is, please don't give up at me. I may fall again. Next one was, learn my story, connect with me and help me connect with others. The next one was, don't let me be alone. And that whole idea of connection and being alone is hard. Demand honesty. Don't be afraid to call me out because secrets keep me sick. Help me get rid of old contacts, drugs, everything else that I need to. Help me to identify triggers, habits, and excuses, and then develop a plan to address them head on. Help me set up, plan, and reach goals and find purpose. Help me stay focused. Don't give me cash. Keep me busy. The biggest threat to success is not failure, but boredom. Help me get and keep my mind thinking about good things. Praise me when I deserve it. Encourage me when I need it, but also smack me when I need it and kick me when I need it. Help me exercise and eat right and hydrate. Help me get to groups and meetings and appointments, because a lot of times people don't have their driving privileges. They've been suspended. And then just ending up again, yes, please don't give up on me. I may fall again.
Don't give up on me. I may fall again. That is some wise. I love those. Um, Hmm. I
One other
like,
stat related to that, I'm sorry,
no,
is that the average person in recovery has had 5 to 7 major relapses. And so
wow.
when people come in, we talk to them and tell them, be prepared. There may be a relapse. If there is, let's fill in the pothole. Let's get it back on track. Very upsetting when people don't come in and then we find out that they died. So we, especially at the withdrawal unit, are very happy when people come back again and they're still alive. Let's figure out what went wrong and let's keep going.
Okay, so we just don't give up. We just, you know, we encourage, we don't discourage.
Yeah.
Oh, good, good, good. Okay, folks, that is our interview with Dr. Joe Bocka from Mansfield, Ohio. So blessed to be part of all of this and everything else in life. Stay tuned next week or in our next episode with Care is Everywhere. We look forward to seeing you. Until next time, I'll see you later. Bye bye.